Allowed to be started right for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, a founder of real estate investment company that helps agents move through deals and bringing in real buyers and clean execution. Other than Mr. Jaben Makings.
Daniel, thanks for having me on.
Welcome, Mr. Jaben. I'm Book 101 Review, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, so we are an investment company located here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We do things a little bit differently, right? Most investment companies go directly to homeowners. We figured out that a lot of homeowners actually call real estate agents before they sell their property. So we figured why not go directly to these real estate agents and we'll just be a cash offer resource for them. And what we do the majority of the time is what's called wholesaling. So when these agents send us a property, we will put it under contract and then we'll go out and we'll find one of our deal partners that's willing to purchase it for a higher price and we'll sell that contract to them and keep the spread in between.
Wow, interesting, Mr. Jaben, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. Today, let's talk about why most founders chase income instead of leverage. You say most founders chase income instead of leverage. What was the specific moment in your own entrepreneurial journey when you realized you were guilty of this, and what did that cost you?
Yeah, a lot of people go and start a business for the freedom of it and the money, right? Those are the two big things. And a lot of people start working on it and they realize that it's much more work than they think. And if you don't start getting leverage and hiring people, then you're going to be stuck in that business as essentially a glorified job. That's all it will be unless you have other people to delegate stuff to take off your plate. So you want to figure out how to leverage people and grow the company so you can at some point get out of the day-to-day stuff. And now when I first started Onyx Investments, we're coming up on 3 years here in probably July. I was doing everything myself, and I was like, man, I don't know that I want to do this forever, right? I think I need to start hiring people if I want to remove myself as the bottleneck and not be stuck in the day to day and doing the same calls and the paperwork and just all the same stuff over and over again every day until I retire. So that's when I decided to start hiring people and leveraging myself and getting some of my time back.
Well done. Well done, Mr. Jaden. Income is a trap, leverage is freedom. That's a bold statement. For the founder who is proud of their growing revenue, how do you convince them they might be heading in the wrong direction?
Well, I think you are going to go through the times where you are in the day to day for a while. Uh, I think you just need to have that end goal of planning to get out of the business. And I'm not fully out myself. Like I'm still in the day to day, but I've progressed different levels, right? So when I first started, it was just myself. I was doing everything. I was handling paperwork. I was handling acquisitions, dispositions. And then I got a virtual assistant to handle some of my back end stuff. And then I started hiring salespeople, right, to get me out of acquisitions. And now I'm out of acquisitions and I'm doing more dispositions and management. So it's all progression as long as you are moving forward and moving toward that end goal of being able to eventually remove yourself from business. And now what I have to do next is finish building out the acquisitions and then dispositions, and then we can start hiring for management, and I'll be able to remove myself from the business for the most part.
You mentioned the revenue is easy scorecard, while leverage is invisible. How do you help founders measure something they can't easily see?
I think revenue can be quite deceiving. When I was first getting going, right, there was no overhead or anything, so the amount of revenue I was bringing in was pretty close to what I was profiting. But as I started to grow the company, I started to get real overhead where I was having to spend money every single month. And that can get you into trouble if you are in your mind going, well, hey, I made $10,000 last month in revenue, but if you spent five of that and your mindset is that you made $10,000, that can get you in trouble because realistically you only profited 5,000 in that example. So you really need to be careful and know how much you are actually taking home. Figure out your profit margins, right? So if you have a business and your revenues $10,000, figure out what your take home is going to be on that. So if it's 50% profit margins, you're going to take home $5,000 of that every single month. And then you need to go based on that number.
Interesting, Mr. Jaben. Many founders believe that once they hit a certain revenue number, they finally have freedom. Why does that almost never happen without intentional leverage building?
Yeah. I mean, going back to the point earlier, if it's just a glorified job, you'll hit a ceiling at some point, but you can make a lot of money doing everything, but it can be kind of a trap if you aren't leveraging yourself and trying to get out of that day to day.
Indeed, you identify ego as a reason founders chase income. What does ego driven entrepreneurial look like in a practice, and how do you help a founder separate their identity from their revenue?
Say that first part again. You said something about what?
You identify ego as a reason founders chase income.
Mm.
What does ego driven entrepreneurship look like in practice?
Ego driven entrepreneurship is where you are doing it all for yourself, right? And when I first started the company, that was me. I was in it for myself and for the money, and that's not a great way to run a company. You need to have a purpose that's bigger than yourself, because you're going to become selfish, very egotistical. And now my purpose is my wife at home, and then my people here. I love seeing the different people on my team succeed and come in and make a ton of money. There's nothing more fulfilling in this world to me than seeing these people crush it.
Definitely. Urgency always beats importance in a founder's day. How do you help founders prioritize a building leverage when there are deals to close and fires to put out right now?
Yeah, your day needs to be structured. I was talking about this with somebody this morning about how when I was in sales and I had a virtual assistant, she was handling a lot of the back end stuff, and I was just mainly doing sales. My day was very, very structured. I was running in 60 to 90-minute time blocks. I would make calls at the same time. I would run numbers on properties at the same time, make offers at the same time. There was a very, very specific rhythm to my day, and it went very smooth. And I started to get burnt out at one point, and I couldn't figure out why. At first, I was thinking, well, it's because I'm working too much, right? I'm working all the time, so maybe I need to cut back on work. Well, I looked into it a little bit closer, and what I realized is that when I was switching from just doing strictly sales and I started hiring different salespeople, I was jumping to more of a management role, and I was at everybody's beck and call. Right? If they had a question, I was the one answering it. If they had a fire, I was the one putting it out. If they needed help with a property, running numbers on it, whatever it may be, I was the default guy, obviously, to help solve all those things. So I actually did what's called a calendar audit where I reviewed my day, had a timer go off every 15 minutes and looked at it. And like when I looked at it and saw what my day consisted of, it was chaos. I was context switching every like 10 minutes. I'd be bouncing to something different. And I was like, this is what's causing my burnout. There's no way that your brain isn't getting fatigued and burnt out if you're switching different tasks that frequently. Your brain's going to get really tired. So what I had to do was implement the structure again. Even though I was doing a management role, at first I was thinking that I needed to answer all these questions right away. Well, come to find out that 95% of these questions can actually wait a couple hours. They don't need to be answered right away. So I implemented some more of that structure where I could get the deep work blocks to myself, get different stuff done, And then at certain times throughout the day, I would be available for questions. I would check Slack and respond to questions, but it's not 24/7 that I am available. So as soon as I implemented that structure and got the structure back, a lot of that burnout actually went away. So the big lesson I learned from all of that is sometimes burnout isn't from too much work. Sometimes it's just from a lack of structure.
Lack of structure. So you say many founders lack leverage literacy. If you were teaching masterclass to a room full of exhausted founders, what would be the first three leverage points you'd tell them to look for?
I'd say start number one, start with your calendar, right? Do an audit. I'd say that's probably the most important thing, is to review your calendar. I did what I was telling you about earlier, a time audit. I'll break that down a little bit more. It's basically from the time you wake up, you start on a timer and have it go off every 15 minutes. And at the end of each 15 minutes, you write down exactly what you are doing. And you will be, if anybody listening to this tries that, you are going to be shocked at what you actually do throughout the day. Because I was thinking I was super busy, I was getting a lot done. When in reality, when you're context switching and bouncing back and forth, which is what I was actually doing, you're not getting a lot done. You feel busy, but you're not actually very productive.
Mm, certainly. For letting go keeps founders trapped. What is the underlying fear beneath the fear? The one founders won't admit even themselves that makes them hold on tightly.
A lot of people are control freaks, right? I could see how that's a big issue. I'm kind of the opposite, right? I like to have control in a lot of different areas, but I can s- I can be kind of the opposite where I give too much trust away too fast to my people, which is actually, came back to bite me. Uh, but you gotta find a fine balance. You don't want to be too overbearing where you can't let anything go, because if you can never let anything go and let people do their work and you just micromanage them, it's not gonna be good. But on the other end of the spectrum, you don't want to let too much go too fast, right? And you want to let stuff go, but you need to inspect it. That was my issue. I would let too much stuff go without coming back and checking their work, especially in the beginning, right? You're going to be checking their work a lot more to make sure that they're doing a good job. And then, you extend the rope a little bit more and a little bit more as they progress and they're doing a good job.
Mr. Jaben, walk us through your framework for helping a founder identify the highest value activities. What's the question you ask to separate what only they can do from what they've just been hoarding?
Yeah, I mean, for myself, that calendar audit's really important because at the end of each day, you're gonna go back and you're gonna write down, you're gonna put a dollar sign, $1 to $4 signs on each activity. And $1 sign means it's not making you very much money. $2 signs, $3 signs, all the way up to $4 signs, meaning it's makes you the most amount of money. That's your highest income activities. And then you also want to go through and highlight either red or green. If it's green, it gives you energy. If it's red, it takes your energy. And you want to be doing as much of those high dollar activities that are green as possible. And anything that's, a low dollar activity, so like $1, maybe even $2, and it's red, you want to delegate that stuff right away. Get rid of that, pass it off to someone else. So that way you can continue to stack your calendar with the green stuff that is the highest dollar producing activity.
Mr. Gaben, you mentioned code and media. As a modern leverage point, how does non technical or non marketing founder begin building these assets or those assets without getting distracted from their core business?
You said code?
Yes, code
Code. I mean,
and
I don't have
media.
a ton of in media. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of experience with code. No experience really at all. But with media, I've been trying to grow, my Instagram, which is going to help with recruiting and finding different real estate agents to bring us deals and finding different cash investors to bring us deals. So I think social media is a huge leverage point.
Delegation sounds simple, Mr. Javen, but most founders delegate tasks while holding decisions. How do you help a founder actually let it go of decisions making authority?
I think you just got to do it, right? Don't be afraid. You need to have systems and processes in place, right? And I don't do really any coaching, um, but I'm just talking about uh, all the stuff that has helped me. So having systems and processes in place, checklists are a big thing. I didn't have checklists for a long time, and I was having issues with my salespeople not really following what they're supposed to be doing, from little stuff within the CRM to submitting deals. Like they were just missing steps. So finally, I made some checklists and I actually printed and laminated some, so that way they can look at those for every new lead they get. They got to follow the checklist for the different things that they have to do for that. If they get a new property under contract, they got to follow a checklist on what to do with that property. Right. I read a book called Checklist Manifesto, and that book really opened my eyes, and that's what got me onto the checklist. But he talks about a story in there, or he explains it. Um, he asks a question: what would a pilot do if they're midair and they have an engine that goes out? The co-pilot is going to immediately pull out a checklist, right? It's a midair emergency, and they're going to pull out a checklist and go down the checklist, right? There's a checklist for everything in that, so there's no steps missed. And so I'm like, that's a phenomenal analogy. We need to implement all these checklists into my business, so that way steps aren't getting missed and everything's being followed exactly. Because it's really hard to scale if people aren't following the systems and processes. If people are kind of making up their own way and doing different things than what your system and process is, it's just going to be chaos as you scale the company.
Mr. Javen, as a founder, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, short term, as I was talking about earlier, is scaling up the acquisitions, dispositions, getting that going, and then eventually hiring a general manager or two, so I can remove myself from a lot of the day to day operations in the company. And then long term, we are really going trying to go far. One of our midterm goals, our North Star goals, is getting the company to $1 million a month, which we hope to do in the next few years. And long term, I want, a massive company, Onyx, with several different real estate arms underneath it. So I want to be doing commercial real estate. I want to be loaning hard money, and then obviously the residential stuff. So big goals, and we have a long way to go to get them, but we're excited for the future.
Good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success, Mr. Javen. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a founder like you?
I say, if you it's cliche, but if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it, right? Your mind is extremely powerful, and I'll give you a quick story to illustrate that. So, I go out deer hunting in Nebraska every single year. And we go out hunting for a big buck, right? And something with big antlers. And when you're out there for a couple of days, something weird starts to happen, right? Because all you are doing every day is looking for this buck, right? It's all your mind is focused on. And what happens is everything starts to look like a buck. So the rocks, the trees, the shadows, like you start to see this buck everywhere. And your eyes aren't lying to you, but your mind is. And I see the same thing in business and in life. If you are constantly focusing on the negative or what you don't have or what's wrong, your mind is going to create evidence to justify that focus. So you need to be very intentional and careful about what you focus on. You want to focus on positive stuff and stuff that you can achieve, and get rid of as many of those negative beliefs that you can, because ultimately your mind's got to believe them and create that evidence.
Well, thank you for that empowering advice, Mr. Javen. And can you please recommend again books that influence your journey?
Books, you said?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorites that I have all of my new salespeople read is called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which is an awesome book talking about communication and basically just getting people to like you, which is super, super important in business.
Certainly. Thank you for the recommended book, Mr. Jaben. And to wrap up our discussion for today, what is the difference between a founder who builds a business they can sell and one builds a job that cannot escape? Where do paths leverage or diverge each other?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll tell you in a couple of years when I'm finally out of the business and I escape it. But from my perspective right now, it's a founder that's not in the day to day is potentially going to be able to sell compared to somebody that's doing everything day to day. They would never be able to sell. So the end goal is to ultimately get out of the business and have it run on its own.
Very well said, Mr. Jaben. And so can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever project that you're doing right now? Mr. Jaben, can you
Hey,
please
thanks for having
invite?
me on.
Yeah, so where do people can reach you?
Oh, sorry, you cut out there. Send me a message on Instagram. I want you to send me the word 101, right, for the podcast, to Jaben.makings, and I will send you over my calendar stuff, and basically showing you how I break down my calendar every day and the importance of that.
Hmm. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Jaben Makings because if you support him for sure more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. So I have one more question, Mr. Jaben. If you could whisper one thing, the year of every founder who is grinding 60-hour weeks, convinced that next year will be different, what would it be?
And just take action now. Start finding ways to free back some of your time so you can keep focusing on the stuff that actually makes money.
Certainly. So, Mr. Jaben Makings, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.
What do you people? See you soon.